Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Leanna Osborne. I am one of the members of our Souls Harbor Youth Group, and today we are here with Paul Ashby. He is our youth minister, and today we're just going to take a little bit of time and to get to know our youth pastor. So Paul Ashby, if you want to tell them a few things about yourself.
Oh yeah, to be honest, I've grown up here at Souls Harbor. I was brought here as a child. Grew up under so many awesome pastors and youth ministers, and they've poured into me, and I'm glad I just get the opportunity to pour that back out into youth like Leanna and all the others that are here.
So I do have a few questions for you. How would you describe your communication style?
Communication is something major, especially with youth. In the world we live in today, communication is very digital.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we do come in person, a lot of teenagers and even some adults can struggle with communication. But I found that what really helps is connecting personally with the person. So I guess it's just a God-given thing, but I'm able to match people. That's what I call it. If someone is into sports, I will talk with them and I will hype them up about sports. If they're into cartoons or whatever, I'll match them on that. I try to make them feel like whatever they're interested in, I'm interested in. And it's not an act. I'm interested in it because they're interested in it. And I feel like being able to connect with them personally really opens up that communication. It breaks down a lot of those barriers. A lot of kids and teenagers are afraid that they'll be criticized or judged based on their own personal life and what they like. But I let them know that I'm just excited to be there with them and to communicate with them. So.
Right. So, how do you describe your call to ministry?
My call happened when I was in the youth group here. Pastor Denny was the youth minister at the time, the youth pastor, and I'd love to be able to say that it just all happened at once. That God just spoke to me and said, "Hey, I want you." But that's not really how it went. I don't think that's really how a lot of callings come from God. It's more of a gradual thing. But there's a couple times that I really remember that really stick out to me. And one was Pastor Denny was given a lesson upstairs, and I wish I could remember what the song was, but he played a song for the youth group. And, youth group is usually fun and exciting, and everyone's joking around and stuff, but something was different about this one, and he had us all close our eyes and listen to this and think about how this song applied to our lives and our ministries and our callings. And I just remember, being like 13 at the time. I was one of the younger students. I remember peeking open one of my eyes and looking around, and I just remember seeing other youth ministers like Jason Potter and Brittany and Sister Sarah and several others that were in the youth. I mean, it was a youth group on their feet, their hands raised, eyes closed. They didn't know anyone else unless they were peeking like me. No one else knew. But I remember feeling a calling like this is what youth ministry should be like. There should be that fun and exciting, but at the same time there should be that deep connection.
Yeah.
And then I remember we were having a special service one time in church, and for some reason the youth pastor, it was Pastor Denny at the time still, told us to go somewhere in the church because everyone falls into a rhythm at church, falls into a pattern, and he said go somewhere that you're usually not. Don't go to your assigned seat or wherever you go and stand in the altar. And I went back to where the ushers are, and I remember I was just back there praying, and a couple of the ministers came back there and prayed for me and just confirmed the fact that I had some kind of calling into leadership, whether that was youth ministry whether that was doing Bible studies like I do on Wednesdays, or sometimes speaking on Sundays. They confirmed that in me, and that's when I really knew that God had a plan for me, and I'm just so thankful that I get to do that.
So, who, if you had to pick, who are your spiritual role models?
Oh man, I've been under so many. Bishop Dean Livingston, he was my pastor. He was my friend. We we went and played golf. That man cheated more than anybody I've ever seen at golf. But man, was he saved! We had a good time. I got to see him not just as a man on the stage preaching, but I got to see him as a friend. I got to see him on his days off. I saw him at home, joking with his wife. I got to see him cheating on his diets. I got to see him playing at the golf course. But I also saw whenever he would get a phone call at the golf course and someone would need prayer, and he'd stop no matter what he was doing, whether we were hanging out at his house and he turned off the TV, or whether we were out on the golf course and he pulled the cart over so that we could pray on the phone for whoever was in need. He showed me that it wasn't just a church thing. It was his life. It was the way he lived, and it was a wonderful mixture of spirituality and just that life that he lived.
What are some spiritual issues that young people face today?
Oh man, it's everything. No matter what, whatever any adult is dealing with, the teenagers are dealing with. Whatever, I don't think there is a limit to it. There's nothing. Now they deal with things in different ways, but it's the same issues at heart. They deal with the anxiety. They deal with depression. They deal with lust. Anything. Pride. There's nothing new under the sun. Now, what changes is where they're dealing with it at. They're dealing with it at school, surrounded by hundreds of other kids. They're dealing with it in their homes, isolated with, they don't go to work and have friends to talk to sometimes. It's the circumstances, and I believe that's what's important when dealing with the things that they're dealing with. Is finding out not just is it depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, anything like that. It's finding out where that's happening and finding out the circumstances it's around, and that's what you want to try to help.
Can you describe a youth pastor who affected your life in a positive way?
All of them. Pastor Denny, Dennis Willis, Justin, who you'll get to hear from later, Justin Hutt. There were several of these great men and their wives as well who were helping lead these women. They each were unique and showed me different aspects, and they poured different things into me. And I hope I can take little bits from each of them and impart the best of all those things to you all.
And this is our last question. How do you encourage leadership in your youth members?
Leadership is hard with youth. They're used to being in that group.
Mm-hmm.
They're used to being friends, and it's difficult for some to jump out as a leader. But I believe that what really helps leadership in youth is having the spiritual sensitivity to understand what each person's calling is. Some people aren't called to leadership, and that's okay. They might have a specific leadership role in something other than like ministry. They might be. Let me say this: when I was in the youth, Sister Livingston taught me one of the best lessons ever. I was thinking that I didn't have a ministry when I was like 13. She said, "You sit on the front pew, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "That is leadership." And I said, "How is sitting on the front pew leadership?" And she said, "A lot of people come to church and they're a little hesitant. I don't want to be the first one to stand up or clap my hands or go to the altar. But when you're sitting on the front pew, you don't have the distraction of everybody that's sitting in front of you. You don't see all the babies. You don't see all the people talking or the phones ringing or anything like that. You're connected, and you're able to be that person who stands up first, who claps their hands first, who engages in the worship, engages in the preaching, and that will help lead other people to get over that. I don't want to be first. I don't want to be the only one doing this. And so, finding out each person's unique calling really helps pulling that out of them. And even something as simple as just sitting on the front pew is a wonderful place to start. Being able to have that little bit of leadership without even realizing you're doing it, because you're just in the moment. And then as well, I just try to lead by example. I try to structure my own life, my own worship, my own ministry into showing you all how you all should come up. Now, I'm not perfect. No, I'm not perfect at all. And there's so many things I wish I'd done different when I was in the youth. And I just hope that I can help you all not make a couple of those same mistakes. And then, each generation, it just gets better and better.
Well, thank you so much
Thank you.
for sharing, and thank you guys for watching.
Yes.